Oh, that's a really good one.
Thomas down to Ogwumike, spinning, hooping.
Hey everyone, I'm Noah Lichtenstein from Crossover VC. In this series, we bring together leaders of the world's top startups and athletes and entertainers at the top of their fields to talk about what drives them, what they can learn from each other, and what the future holds. Today, we're going to be talking about distributed workforces, talent development, and the booming African tech ecosystem. And I'm excited to be teaming up with WNBA star and fellow Stanford alum, Chiney Ogwumike. On the court, Chiney is a two-time WNBA All-Star and one of the most prominent Nigerian-American athletes in the world. And off the court, she's building a successful broadcasting career while focusing on unlocking opportunities across the African continent. And today we're catching up with Christina Sass, the co-founder and president of Andela, one of the hottest technology startups on the African continent, and developing the next generation of technology leaders while unlocking upward mobility in the process. Not to mention, backed by $180 million in venture capital funding from top firms like Spark, Google, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, and others. Chiney, Christina, thank you both so much for taking the time. But before we get started, we work up an appetite putting this series together, and we want to thank our friends over at DoorDash for their support and for making it easy to get great food delivered to our door. So I'm gonna get so cool because you guys both, you spent so much time in Lagos, in Nigeria.
Yeah, Chiney, do you get back there a lot?
I was just there early in February.
Okay.
My family typically goes to Abuja, but I have to make my rounds.
So Christina, can you tell us about what Andela does and where the idea came from?
Well, the idea originally came from a big idea I had for a bunch of organizations to collaborate in a new way that completely failed. So in true startup fashion, you got to fail fast and then switch. So we are helping companies across the world build better products and build them faster by identifying and vetting extraordinary talent. We are focused on African talent right now and using that workforce to basically, it's engineering as a service. So when your company in Austin, Texas, or in LA, or in New York needs to build and can operate in a fully distributed fashion, we operate as full-time members of your team in a remote setting.
I think it's remarkable what you're doing, Christina. And I guess my question would just be, what have been the biggest challenges you've had with Andela, considering there's an abundance of talent, but limited resources?
Yeah. So certainly, you're Nigerian, you know the deal. Lagos has some operational challenges. High traffic. It's hard to get
understatement when it comes to traffic.
I've never seen. Everyone's like Southeast Asia. I'm like, you have never seen Lagos. Yeah. It's we sometimes have trouble getting consistent energy sources. Everybody in Lagos has their own generator.
Yep. NEPA.
But those are all very easy to overcome if you have extraordinary talent. And so our tag, one of the things at Andela is you follow the talent. And so just to give you an idea of what I mean, when we first started out as a pilot in Lagos, we basically put out a tweet that said, do you want to get paid to be a world-class software developer? We got 2,500 applicants from around Lagos and Nigeria. And the testing service called us and they said, what the hell is this job? You're crashing all of our systems because so many people are applying. And by the way, you have 40 candidates in this pool that are in the top 2% of IQ in the world. Wow. And that's before we were an established brand, right? And so we knew, hey, Lagos is the exact right place for us. And so you deal with the challenges. And in the 6 years that we've built the company, high-speed internet, fiber cable, all those things have gotten better and allowed us to just remove the barriers for that awesome talent to thrive. And then I'd say the second challenge, which is very timely in the midst of COVID, is it's really been convincing people that you can add full value in a distributed remote setting. And we just convinced the world that they're going to have to learn to work in a remote way. We've all just done it. But once they meet, our extraordinary developers from Lagos and see it work, or, from Nairobi or Kampala now, once they see a value add to their team, it's an easy sell.
Have you seen any ripple effects, or can you speak to some ripple effects of Andela's impact on helping spark this new wave of tech innovation we're seeing in Africa?
So one of the things that we've seen is once you remove outdated systems to define what talent is, people rise very, very quickly. And so we have seen other companies in the area look at their recruitment efforts differently. It isn't necessarily your pedigree or where you went to school. It's what you can prove that you can build, which is one of the reasons why, software development is a great equalizer. So we've certainly seen people open up in that way. We have seen part of what we're intending to do is kind of raise the level of expertise of what great software development looks like. And so our developers sit in Lagos or Nairobi, now also in Cairo and in Accra and Ghana. But they travel to see their clients in San Francisco or New York or London. And so we're bringing the best of cutting edge, software development tools back to those communities. So we started to see that ripple effect. So our dream is that in 5-10 years, the greatest technology leaders, they're going to be CTOs of existing companies, and then they're going to be founders of their own companies, will all have come through this kind of boot camp experience of joining Andela. Chiney, have you seen other, strong companies that you're excited about?
I think there's been a shift in how us Africans view ourselves and our responsibilities when it comes to the continent. My parents went to university. They went to Weber State, super random, going from Nigeria straight to, Utah. And
wow,
I know it's like a harsh change, but you always go where your relatives are at. As much as I'm in the States, born and raised, girl in Houston, Texas, I grew up with 2 Nigerian parents in an African house.
Yeah.
And so we have this natural born curiosity of our homeland. And I think that's why you see this next generation being sort of the best of both worlds. I'm very blessed to be Nigerian American, meaning I have the Nigerian, you see the qualities, determination,
yes,
hard work ethic, but then I'm blessed to have the American opportunities, the progressive nature when it comes to approaching sports, being a girl, or even just doing some things creatively, doing things that are different.
Yeah.
And so now I think with the shifted, my generation is very fortunate to have platforms like Andela, or even people that say your pathway to success is so different and it's allowed to be valid, versus our parents who, you got to go to this school, you got to go and get this job. What is it? Doctor, lawyer, those
yes, exactly,
rigid standards and norms. And so to answer your question, I think the investment that I've seen is just more so us breaking down the stereotypes of what should and should not happen as being an African child or a child of the diaspora. But now it's like shifting the norms and using technology to your own power.
Yeah.
Now you can create your own platform on YouTube.
Yep.
You can create your own following on social media. Now you can actually try to dream of building a startup. These things did not happen 5, 10, 20 years ago. This is all happening and evolving now. Yeah. So I guess my answer is just the investment is in the shift of the mindset of the people. And that to me has been the coolest thing to witness and also inspire. Go back and show people that, they always say, you can't be what you cannot see.
That's right.
And now we're seeing so much, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%. I constantly tell our engineers, the doctor and lawyer of yesterday is now it's engineers. You all will build the systems that scale solutions for every challenge in the world. There's nothing that we're going to solve that doesn't at its heart have ethically minded, values driven technologists that think about the consequences, that think about the consequences of what they build.
Talking about shifting mindsets, one of the things I think is so impressive, Chiney, is your work with the CBA and helping get massive increase in salary for you and your peers. Can you talk a little bit about how the league has evolved to address some of the systematic inequities and how technology has played a role?
I would say that the way tech has helped is that now we have social media that shows the most authentic version of what an athlete is, and it's on your own terms. But being a part of that collective bargaining negotiations was probably one of the most rewarding professional experiences I've ever had, and I've played in the WNBA, I work on ESPN, it's been lit for the most part. But just going through, and I would just say first and foremost, being in the WNBA is one of the most competitive jobs in the world. There's only 144 women, badass women, that are able to work in the WNBA and play in the WNBA. And so this league is literally the best women's basketball league in the world. And everyone wants to compare our league to the NBA, which we're very grateful to have our partnership with the NBA, our big brothers. But we have a product that stands on its own. And tech has been everything, just because you see so many players showing the different sides of themselves. Like, there's no marketing answer that can be better than what we show our fans and the personal relationship we have. From now on, I think the recent shift we've had since 2016, 2018, now 2020, is that we are collaborating. We're using our network. So like, for instance, we're negotiating the CBA. Sue's like, hey, I'm here with Megan Rapinoe. You know what I'm saying? She's saying, this is what's going on with their league. This is how they accomplish this. And we're like, okay, bet. I go to ESPN and speak on a conference. Hillary Knight's there. She's like, girl, you just accomplished this. Show me how you do this. Open your playbook. So we're all collaborating and using our collective platforms to elevate. And then on top of it, we have these streaming platforms, our own social medias, our own texts, our own brands that are amplifying the same message: respect women and understand that we are the best at what we do. So I guess to like sort of wrap it up, in this CBA, it was a summation of all the great momentum we've been having as women and women in sports. Like you mentioned, we're a league full of working women. A lot of people were saying that our CBA agreement was groundbreaking. The more I thought about it, it was more ground establishing. That's why people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, this one CBA for these women ensured that they get full paid when they're on maternity leave. It ensured that if they're going to continue to work up until their, mid 40s, maybe, you get family planning benefits for, surrogacy, adoption, egg fertilization, all those
amazing.
Super progressive notions, like mental health resources. We're like, this is just what we deserve as women, period, in 2020. And then we were surprised to find out that this was not the standard. That's why I say it was ground establishing, and that's why it really resonated. And that's why you saw it really have an impact, not just for women in sports, but women, period. I know it's a long answer, but I guess the answer is that we took ownership over our authenticity and then sort of amplified it in our own platforms using tech. And that's what's really changed the game.
That's amazing. Christina, some of that echo for what we see.
Oh my God. I mean, so the challenges for women in technology are many, and it's that they don't believe that there's a career path for them, and they don't believe that there are champions like Chiney out there, that are fighting the good fight and everything else. So we got to get more women in the, upstream. But at Andela, like, we set out at the beginning, I was a very idealistic female founder. I thought, if I build it, they will come. That didn't happen. We didn't have nearly as many female applicants at the beginning. So we did some really basic but fundamentally critical things, like putting female recruiters out in the field. And we changed every third recruitment cycle was an all-female recruitment cycle. And, long story short, we now have it hovers around 23% women software developers. The global average is 7%. So I don't want to hear at Silicon Valley that you can't find women. If I can find them in Lagos and Kampala and Accra, you can most certainly find them, in San Francisco. But the important thing, like the thing that technology does for us, is that we can measure outputs. Again, we can measure who is performing best. And on Chiney will not be surprised at all, on every measurable indicator, on problem solving, on their technical ability, and most importantly, on who delights their client and who's happy, our women compete, and in many cases outcompete our male developers. And so everyone in the world should care about women being in the workforce, because, you're an investor, the stats on women founders. And so I now get to shift the conversation from, hey, this is an obvious thing that we should do, that the whole world should do, to here's the business case for this.
Absolutely. One of the first investments we made is in a company called Clio, which is a family benefit platform. And one of the things that's so great about what this company does is they use data to show companies that if you invest in family planning and helping working women in the workforce, not only does it make for a better workforce, but it makes financial sense. Mm-hmm. Number one expense for most self-insured companies is related to pre and postnatal care. Part of why I'm so excited to have both of you, joining here is we need, as you said, you have to see it to be inspired. Because I'm inspired by both of you.
I just want to say, in the spirit of recognizing great female founders, we just recently got our first ever WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, who was the former CEO of Deloitte. And when you talk about data, it was just funny, as you spoke, talking about data and analytics driving the business actually being the real motivator, not just equality when it comes to gender.
Right.
It's just funny because she left Deloitte. Deloitte comes out with a finding that investing in women's sports is probably one of the next best top 4 businesses that you can pursue just because of the boom and the momentum. So I just is like, oh, Kathy, like, it just is nice to see women in leadership take ownership and then also show the numbers and the facts behind it. But Kathy has been a huge advocate for us. And she's only been on the job for like a year, which is
amazing. That's amazing.
So this has been amazing. But before I let you go, I've got to run you through the rapid fire. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. What's the first job you ever had?
Youth director at a YMCA.
I was the middle school receptionist at the school my mom worked at and I went to. So hello, welcome to Hamilton Middle School. How may I help you? That was me.
That's awesome. All right. What's the best book you've read during this whole quarantine time?
I reread 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That was awesome.
Big fan of John Gordon, and The Energy Bus and Training Camp are on my reading list right now.
What's your quarantine cheat food?
And I have been stress baking like nobody's business. I just made rhubarb cobbler.
Honestly, I just eat what I want. I'm bad. Like, I'm a professional athlete. Like, I try to be good most of the time, but I'll be eating my Houston barbecue. So every food, I guess.
What's one thing about you that most people would be surprised to learn?
My brother and I have matching tattoos honoring our father.
Oh, that's a really good one. I'm a TV buff. I love all television. So every TV show, if I had another job, it'd probably be like, TV critic or something.
All right. Last question. So as soon as this crazy quarantine's over, what's the first thing that you want to do that you haven't had a chance to do?
I want to go and see our colleagues in Lagos and Nairobi and Kampala.
I'm going to co-sign that. I'm going to retweet that. And on top of that, I'm probably going to get my eyelashes done. You know when you have eyelashes and then you take them off, you feel like a naked mole rat? Yeah. So I've been in that stage. It's okay.
I can't remember that one. You guys, this has been so much fun. Amazing. Thank you for taking the time. Thanks again for stopping by the Crossover. You can give our guests a follow here and here, and check back with us soon for more founder stories. Crossover is a venture capital platform that provides access to investing in the private technology sector and making sure that the next generation of wealth creation doesn't look like the last one. As part of that commitment, Crossover is proud to be making a contribution to our friends at All-Star Code on behalf of all the participants in this series.